Alright, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel. Of course, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC. We're the best reviews wrestling and your three-time YWC channel of the year. And I'm back here. It is, of course, still Tuesday, July the 8th of 2025. So hope you're all having a good one. Hope you enjoyed the video I did earlier. I know it was kind of different from the norm outside of stuff that I usually do. But hope you guys enjoyed it and kind of saw where I was coming from with that as well. But hope you all have been doing well, have been enjoying your Tuesday here. Mine was pretty, it was fine. Had the day off and all that, so I enjoyed myself. And so it is now, late nights approaching 10 p.m. here, so figured I'd go ahead and get another video in. So this will technically be my second video of the night, actually third if you include the video I recently uploaded, my reaction on the Phantom Anime Reviewer channel, my anime channel, which I posted the link to that in my community tab. I made a post about that in my community tab, so if you guys haven't seen it, go check that out if you're interested. But anyway, so I wanted to go ahead and make this video because I wanted to get back to doing some wrestling content. Yeah, the kind of the focal point of the channel. So let's get back to doing some wrestling content here. So here tonight with this video, I'm here to talk about something very specific, very particular, and I figured let's just go ahead and do it, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about the epic, and I mean epic, 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 epic failure that WWE has recently had, and in specific, the failure that they've had in one such aspect, and that is attempting to hinder and cross and counter program one specific promotion, one specific wrestling promotion known as AEW All In Wrestling. You should know where I'm going with this. Alright, so as it currently stands, we are now 4 days, just 4 days away from AEW's All In Texas at Globe Life Field in Arlington, AEW's biggest event, what looks to be AEW's biggest event in recent memory. They're promoting this thing like it is AEW's biggest event, and surely, in the last couple of years anyway, they have promoted All In like it's AEW's biggest event of the calendar year. I mean, the last 2 years they had it in Wembley Stadium, and you saw, of course, the results. 70,000, 80,000 people in the first one, and then, 50, 40,000 people in the second. And now this year, for the first time, at least in North America here in the States, they're going to have AEW's All In emanating from a American arena, or ballpark, what have you, at Globe Life Field in Texas for All In Texas. And this thing is shaping up to be to be quite the show, man. Already, looking at the match card, I kind of went through it briefly in a video I did last week, before the weekend, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions for AEW's All In Texas within the next 2 days. I think I'm going to wait till after Dynamite tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow night we're going to have AEW Dynamite, the go-home show, before AEW's All In Texas on this Saturday. So, yeah, you'll be seeing that predictions video here on the channel. But anyway, so as you guys know, AEW's All In Texas is going to be this Saturday. And so WWE, in response to this, because that pretty much everything they do nowadays is to attempt to hinder AEW. I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious. If you don't think it's obvious, I'm going to explain why it's obvious and what exactly it is they're doing. WWE, in response to AEW having their All In Texas show, has decided in the last few months to announce that they're going to book not one, not two, but three fucking shows on the same weekend. 3 shows, 3 events that WWE is holding this weekend, 2 of which on the same day. The same day as AEW's All In Texas, on Saturday, July 12th. This is not a coincidence, folks. WWE is doing this intentionally. They're doing this, quote-unquote, strategically. Why are they doing it? Because they want so bad. Sorry. But anyway, so WWE wants so bad to interfere and intervene and try to stifle AEW's momentum that they have decided to book 3 fucking shows, 3 events on the same weekend, 2 of which on the same day as AEW's All In Texas. Now, some people are probably going to sit here and say, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. WWE, they book their shows fucking well in advance. Blah, 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 blah. Folks, They did not book any of these shows fucking in advance, okay? I don't care if it was internally, I don't give a shit. There's no way in hell that they did not do this without without the intentional purpose of having this be on the same weekend as AEW's All In Texas. That's not a coincidence. We have known about AEW All In Texas since late last year. AEW announced it well in advance, like late last year. I think it was December when they announced it. It could have even been before that. It could have even been as far back as like October, November of last year. But it was quite a while ago. It was late last year. I know that for a fact. So AEW All In Texas, we have known about it. We've known that it was going to be on July 12th since a good half a year? At least 6-7 months in advance. We've known about this for quite some time. And I'm sure it was basically booked and it was planned well before that. Okay? And as I said before, we did not know. WWE did not announce any of these 3 shows that they're going to do this weekend. So let me just go through those shows real quick. They're going to have an NXT event, or PLE, whatever the hell it is, or I don't know if it's event or PL, whatever the fuck it is. They're going to have NXT's Great American Bash, more like Great American Trash, early on Saturday, I think like 1 or 2 p.m., whatever the fuck the start time is. Then later that night, they're going to have a Saturday Night's Lame event. That's what I call it, Saturday Night's Lame event, that night around 8 p.m. And then the following day, on Sunday, on July 13th, they're going to have WWE's Evolution pay-per-view, the all-women pay-per-view, or pay-per-view with all women, all women's matches on it. The second time they've done it. The first time since 2018 or however long ago it was. Like it was 2018, 2019. It's been like 6 years since they did the first one. And now they all of a sudden decided, oh, let's do another Evolution pay-per-view. Just out of the blue. Ironically, on the same fucking weekend as the biggest show of their biggest competition. It's not a fucking coincidence, folks. It's not a coincidence. WWE did not announce these shows in advance. WWE probably didn't even plan these shows in advance. We didn't know about Saturday. They never announced Saturday night's main event for July 12th. They didn't announce fucking NXT's Great American Bash fucking back then. They damn sure didn't announce this Evolution show. Okay, they're booking these 3 shows on this one weekend for one specific, distinct purpose. And that is to attempt to counter-program and intervene and take a momentum and hype and steam away and interest away from AEW and their biggest show of the fucking year, that being All In Texas. That is why they're doing it. That is why they're doing it. This is a desperate fucking attempt by WWE to counter-program AEW's All In Texas. They have to put 3 shows on one weekend. 3 shows in a span of 2 days just to counter AEW's All In Texas. And you know what? They have massively failed. They failed. Okay? This attempt to counterbook and counter-program AEW has been a massive failure, and let me explain to you why. So we've known, like I said, AEW's All In Texas show has been on sale for, like I said, the better part of half a year now. And as of this moment, as of this video being recorded, AEW's All In Texas, the ticket sales have reached a little over 20,000. They have a little over 20,000 seats sold for this thing. Over 20,000. It's approaching, by official start time on Saturday, they might reach 21,000. Okay? This show has already set multiple records in terms of pro wrestling events. With this 20,000 tickets being sold for this thing, for All In Texas at Globe Life Field, they have officially set a record for the highest, or they're going to set a record, I should say, for the highest attended non-WWE event in pro wrestling history in North American history. The previous record was set by WCW's, WCW Slamboree 1999, where they had a little over 20,000 for that, and like 1/3 of the tickets, 1/3 of the people didn't even pay to attend. So AEW has already surpassed that. So they've officially set the record for the largest North American attendance, largest attendance for a non-WWE wrestling show in North America's history, in the history of pro wrestling. Not only that, but they have already had a record gate, a revenue gate of over $2.5 million That is the largest non-WWE gate for a wrestling event in North America's history. Or at least, in the last 20 years. And I'm sure WCW had a few events that were around that number. But they have set, this show has already set multiple records. This is going to be a big deal on Saturday. This event is going to be a big deal on Saturday. And not just based on the matches that we see. Based on the attendance, the numbers, the gate, the revenue, everything surrounding it. They've got nothing but buzz, nothing but positive vibes going into the show on Saturday. Meanwhile, you look over on WWE side, and it's anything but positive. Their shows that the ones that they're having on the same day to attempt to counter the AEW's All In Texas. First off, a lot of the shows are like we've been hearing. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of news in regards to the creative process. Fans are just disinterested with the WWE product right now. Creatively, there's a lot of apparent anger or frustration in terms of talents, in terms of their creative direction. There's no real buzz, no real positive energy or vibe with what WWE's doing right now, be it on the main roster or on NXT. NXT, their Great American Bash show, it was really, like I said, we didn't know about this thing until a couple weeks ago that they announced it. And when you throw together a show like that just randomly, just because you want to fucking stack shows on that weekend to attempt to counter program AEW, you throw a show together with no fucking clear direction or no fucking real planning or anything, and more often than not, it's going to be a complete bust. It's like, I don't even know any of the matches that are going to be at Great American Bash. Granted, I don't really follow NXT nowadays, but it's like, what match, what general interest is there for that show? Like, seriously, what interest, what buzz is going to be for that event? Like, who is genuinely going to be interested in watching that show outside of the usual WWE druids who suck up everything WWE does? And don't question anything, outside of the, usual WWE NXT marks, like the JDs of the world. It's like, who is genuinely interested in that show? Hardly anybody. It's like when you throw an event together like that last minute, just within the last month, they announced it. And it's like, I don't even know any of the matches or anything that's going to happen on there. It's like, what interest could a show like that possibly have? And it's no better on the main roster front, because you look at Saturday night's lame event, the biggest draw, quote unquote, that they have for that show is going to be fucking almost 60-year-old man wrestling for a world's title in 2025. Goldberg challenging Gunther for the WWE World's title. Like, anybody is interested in that shit. I talked about this before. I talked about, Goldberg challenging for the world's title at his fucking age. The match is going to be fucking garbage. Probably not going to be any longer than 5. It's probably... You'll be lucky if that match lasts more than 3 minutes. And if they have Goldberg beat, and I said this before, if they have Goldberg beat Gunther for the fucking WWE World's title in 2025 in his quote-unquote retirement match, you might as well fucking kiss that title's history or the prestige and Gunther's credibility goodbye. If you seriously have him job the fucking Goldberg in fucking 2025. That's the biggest draw, or quote-unquote biggest interest that they have on that show. What else do they have? What else is going to be on that show? Probably not too much of nothing. A bunch of matches that you're probably going to see on Raw and SmackDown, or the matches you haven't, if you haven't already seen it, or if you haven't seen it already on fucking Raw and SmackDown every week. It's just going to be a bunch of Raw and SmackDown matches. It's like, what's the interest there? Seriously. You're going to have the buzz and the, all the hype of, oh my God, it's historic. It's like they're going back to their roots with, the same as Saturday night's main events back in the 80s. It's not the fucking 80s anymore. It's not the fucking 80s. And they've already had several of these Saturday night's main events throughout the year already. So what's going to be any different about this one? Like, seriously, if the best that you got is Gunther versus fucking Goldberg, you might as well not even watch that shit. Like, you're really just wasting your time. It's just going to be a bunch of thrown together garbage. It's just going to be a bunch of hot shot garbage that they're throwing on these shows. This NXT, this fucking NXT show, this Great American Bash, Great American Trash, and the Saturday night's lame event. They're just throwing a bunch of matches together, just randomly. Just trying so desperately to counter what AEW All In Texas is going to produce. They're going to have on their show. That's all that it is. It's a desperate fucking attempt by WWE to try to counter program and try to take interest and eyes off of AEW, and it's failing miserably. You look at the interest for WWE right now. You look at the creative direction, the lack of interest in WWE's creative. You look at the lack of interest in their shows recently. You look at their attendance. You look at their ticket sales. They're struggling to sell tickets nowadays. That should tell you all you need to know. And it's even worse on the Netflix front. You know, Raw on Netflix, you know, that big fucking deal. You know, that big, you know, that big contract or whatever the WWE signed and all that. You know, that fucking major mega deal and all that shit to have Raw on Netflix. And what are they doing? What are they pulling? Barely, hardly anything. They apparently just hit an all-time low in terms of viewership for fucking Raw on Netflix. 2.5 million viewers globally? And it's probably way less than that here in the States. So, yeah, interest is waning in WWE right now. There are people calling for Triple H's job. You know, there was a report like a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago, saying that TKO is considering removing Triple H from head of creative. And this is another video. This is another talking point I'm gonna discuss in a future video about whether or not Triple H is the problem in terms of the lack of creative and the lack of interest in WWE. That's gonna be in a future video, but WWE is not doing well right now. You know, they're not doing well. Creatively, they're not doing well. In terms of interest, in terms of garnering interest for the shows, they're not doing well. Ticket sales, attendance, they're not doing as good as, you know, they like you to believe. This Raw on Netflix thing has been a disaster. It's like they're not doing a whole lot of good right now. And they seriously have the audacity to try to go out there and try and hinder AEW, who is as they're slowly but steadily gaining more and more momentum. They're red hot right now. Going into the biggest show, what looks like their biggest show of their calendar year. And they're going to try and stifle that. And it's not going to happen. And it's failed. It's failed miserably. It's failed massively. You're seeing it in front of your own two eyes. You'd have to be blind not to. And let's not even talk about that fucking Evolution show. That thing is, my God. You want to talk about lack of interest. Literally nobody... Literally, ever since I heard about that Evolution show that they're going to do on Sunday, literally nobody has said anything positive about that thing. In fact, if you want to go a step further, you look at the ticket sales for that. Supposedly, you know, they sold like what, 5,000, 6,000 tickets, you know, for that Sunday show at a venue, mind you, where the max capacity is like what, 13,000, 16,000. So it's going to be basically a half-empty stadium. You know, they talk all the time about AEW running shows in half-empty arenas. Well, literally, you're going to have WWE's Evolution show, this all-women's pay-per-view, quote-unquote pay-per-view or PLE, whatever the fuck they call it, and it's going to be fucking in a half-empty arena. Yes, I'm taking that shot, because how many times have these motherfuckers talk about AEW doing shows at half-empty arenas? You literally can't even sell out 10,000 tickets. You could barely sell out 5,000, 6,000 tickets for this fucking event that you just threw together last minute because you want to throw as many shows on one weekend as you can. You're oversaturating your fan base with all these fucking shows on this weekend. All for the distinct purpose of attempting to counter program AEW, and you still fail. Because look at AEW's attendance. Look at AEW's record gate that they're having for this All In Texas. Look at all the interest that they're generating. All the buzz and the interest that they're generating in the pro wrestling fan base going into this show, going into this All In Texas show. And then conversely, look at WWE and what interest they have. It's like night and day. WWE is ice cold right now. And it's likely going to get worse. It's likely going to get worse. But this was a desperate attempt by WWE to try to counter AEW, and they failed miserably on a multitude of fronts. And I know people are going to say, because I mentioned before, AEW's ticket sales for the, All In Texas, they got a little over 20,000 tickets sold for the event. And I'm sure you're going to have, the usual douchebags or the usual anti-AEW dickwads who are going to come on this video and be in the comments and shit all like, the stadium that AEW's running, they hold up to 40,000 people, so AEW's going to have a half-empty stadium too. They're not selling out the entire... The setup for the show is not for the entire arena, you dumbasses. It's a baseball stadium. Most of those seats are all the way fucking around the arena. If you know how a fucking baseball stadium is constructed, it's obviously going to be reconvened to fit, a wrestling show or a wrestling format. They're gonna, take away. They're gonna probably put something over put something over the field. Because again, it's a baseball stadium. They're gonna put something over the field, and they're gonna make they're gonna have the ring, and they're gonna have obviously seats on the side, and all around, and then leading up to the stands. It's going to be configured differently than a regular fucking game, than a regular fucking baseball game. Okay, the setup is not for 40,000 people. The setup initially was for 18,000. And then they expanded that because they got, quite a bit of ticket sales. They've been selling more and more tickets within the last few weeks. And now they're up to over 20,000, which, like I said before, is a record for the highest non-WWE attended show in pro wrestling in North America's history. It's still a record. But of course, these anti-AEW dickheads are going to try and spin it and try and twist the narrative into, it's a half-empty arena. It's like, do you people not have lives? Like, seriously. There's still 20,000 people is 20,000 fucking people. And when we get to that event on Sunday, it's going to look, or Saturday, I should say, it's going to look like a fucking big-ass show. It's going to have that big show feel. It's going to have the stadium feel, I guarantee you. Doesn't matter how many fucking people are in the stadium. I guarantee you, when we get to that show, it's going to look like a fucking stadium show. Guaranteed. So you can take that half-empty stadium bullshit and stick it up your ass. Because that doesn't apply here. Simple as that. But anyway, so that's pretty much more or less all I got to say here. It's like, AEW is on the rise, WWE is on the decline. It's obvious, and this whole plan of theirs to pack fucking 3 events on one weekend and 3 events on 2 days just to counter promote AEW has been a massive, epic failure. It's been a failure of epic proportions on WWE's part, and seeing stuff like this brings me great joy because nobody loves seeing WWE fail any more than I do. And I can't wait for that show. I can't wait for Saturday. I can't wait for All In Texas. Literally nobody outside of the usual WWE Muppets is going to be watching Great American Trash or Saturday night's lame event with fucking Goldberg and the goddamn... In 2025, fucking 58, almost 60-year-old fucking Goldberg who can barely walk, much less wrestle, in the main event of a Saturday night's lame event. Literally nobody's going to give a shit about that. What everybody wants to see is Jon Moxley versus Hangman Page Texas Death Match. Omega versus Okada, first time in AEW's history. You got Mercedes Moné and Timeless Toni Storm, AEW Women's World Title. 2 Casino Gauntlet matches, one for the men's side, one for the women's side. And a slew of other matches we're going to see. That's excitement, that's hype, that's buzz that AEW provides. And WWE just doesn't have it. They don't have it. They have to throw together a bunch of events without even thinking. They really sabotaged themselves. They threw together 3 events on one weekend just to attempt to sabotage AEW, and they still failed. Because AEW still got the ticket sales, they still got a record gate, they still got a record. They're going to have a record attendance in terms of a North American crowd, in terms of its crowd in the states, on stateside, and they just threw together a bunch of events that they really have not planned in advance. They really have no plans for any of these shows in advance. So it's really just pretty much a standard NXT show. Like this Great American Bash, Great American Trash is pretty much a standard NXT show, just on Saturday instead of Tuesday. Saturday night's lame event might as well be a Saturday night version of Monday Night Raw. And then Evolution, that's going to be a massive flop. I'm sure they're going to blame the women. They're probably going to blame the women instead of blaming their own fucking terrible creative, instead of blaming their own fucking lack thereof of creative. Because that's what WWE does. They can never take accountability for the failures. But that's what it is. And I love to see it. You love to see it. Can't wait for AEW All In Texas. It's going to be a badass show. It's going to be a great show. And so, yeah. AEW succeeds, and WWE fails to stifle them once again. You love seeing that. But anyway, that's all I got to say for this video here. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate y'all. Thanks very much for helping me get to 800 subs. We're now at 808, 807, somewhere around there. A little under 200, just 200 subs away from hitting 1,000 here on this channel. It would be great, man, to get back to that. That's been my goal since I started this channel over again, last year. So if you guys can help me with that, that would be greatly appreciated. And like I said, my All In Texas predictions video will be coming a little later this week, probably within the next few days after Dynamite on Wednesday tomorrow night. Can't wait to see what happens. And so that's all I gotta say for this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like on this video, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on anything I talked about here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support I can get. With that being said, it's pretty much going to do it, man. Thank you for watching once more. Till next time, Wrestling Otaku. I'm out for now. See you guys later. Peace.